Welcome to the Papillion La Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting for July 11th, 2022. Before our regularly scheduled agenda, we do have two hearings to get through prior to that regular full agenda. So, Section 1 called to order for the parental involvement hearing for July 11th, 2022. Item A is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Thank you. Moving on to item B, roll call, please.
Dr.
Present.
Ms. Fisher?
Here.
Mr. Lotus?
Here.
Ms. Webb?
Present.
I'll entertain a motion to excuse the absences of Mr. Bailey and Mr. Mather.
So moved. Second.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Witt and a second by Ms. Fisher. Roll call, please.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Yes.
Dr. DeFoyer?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Section 2 of the parental involvement hearing. For the discussion part, I will turn it over to Dr. Steele. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Include parent-guardian rights relating to access to the school's testing information and curriculum matters. Pursuant to state statute, this policy is to be reviewed annually and either altered and adopted as altered or reaffirmed by the board following the opportunity for public comment at this public hearing. Mr. President, at this time I would yield back to the board to hear public comment at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Steele. We do have public comment in regards to the parental involvement hearing. Again, public comment, an individual may not exceed 3 minutes for a total time of all individuals who wish to speak regarding this agenda item, not to exceed 30 minutes unless a majority vote of the board approves extending the allocated time. When I call you up to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. And Ms. Barenko has the timer clock. Again, it goes off at first at 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and again, then final at 3 minutes. First up for public comment for the parental involvement hearing is Ms. Brittany Holtmeyer. Welcome.
Hi. Brittany Holtmeyer, 2007 Ridgewood Drive. For the parental involvement, I obviously go through and read the agendas every Friday when they're posted. So I had went through it, and then I had seen that there was a parental involvement and there was a wellness hearing. I had screenshotted it and posted it to our parent Facebook page that we do have, and many of the parents were unaware of the parental involvement hearing tonight. You would think that to have a parental involvement, you would send it out. You would send it out in an email. You would blast it on Facebook like you do your hiring, or put out some yard signs like the city does. I also wanted to state that I went to the social studies curriculum review the other day. I was there myself and about 4 other families, and every single family was disgusted. I was starting with the kindergarten. Curriculum is huge to me. Obviously, that's why I'm doing this. Reading through it, the kindergarten alone, it took me, I don't know, about an hour and 10 minutes, and I didn't even get through the full thing. So for somebody to be on the curriculum board, I feel as if you should have about a week to go through every single page as I was doing. Now, some of the book in kindergarten wasn't bad, but some of it was. But when it said to refer to a teacher page, we did, myself and the other parents, in reading in it, that they had in the teacher book, the discussion to have with your students, that right there, I feel like, is where that teacher's perspective of what is going on in the book, they're going to give it to like how they feel. Because it didn't really give you a guideline, and of course it had the social emotional learning in it. And myself having a 5-year-old son, trying to learn and understand this stuff that you were trying to teach in a kindergarten book, I mean, that would go over his head, and what you're trying to push onto him to make him think. I mean, if one were to read through the book, I did ask for the drafts so that way I could post it into our Papillion group. As a mom, I don't want my child learning that in kindergarten. And these other parents that were there, I hope that they did fill out the paper, because I filled out like 5 of them with questions. So we need more transparency, especially with this parental involvement. Parents didn't know about it. They weren't aware. And another thing, going back to the social studies review here, the parents were upset that the times that you guys had, because most parents work during the day. So I feel as if maybe we can schedule something like this on a weekend or even at night, maybe starting at 5 to 9. That way they can come after work. The parents want transparency. The parents want openness with you guys, more of a communication, and that's where we're lacking. So with parental involvement, I feel like the district just needs to be more open and more sending out the right emails, I guess is what I'm trying to say, ahead of time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no further public comment regarding the parental involvement hearing, and seeing no requested changes, Dr. Steele?
Thanks again, Mr. President. Switching gears now, this hearing is conducted pursuant, this is the student wellness hearing, and it is conducted pursuant to Board Policy 5602. The purpose of the hearing...
Dr. Steele, if I could stop you for 1 second. I forgot to adjourn the parental
I'm
involvement
sorry.
hearing, so that was my fault. So
No.
I'll adjourn the parental involvement hearing at 6:09 p.m. Sorry about that, Dr. Steele. I moved on as well.
What's that?
I said I moved on as well. All right. As we completed Section 1 call to order previously in the parental involvement hearing, I'll call to order the wellness policy hearing at 6:10 p.m. And as noted, the open meetings law is posted at the entrance to the boardroom. And we will turn it back over to Dr. Steele for the policy presentation of Section 2 discussion.
Now my comments will be germane. As I said, this hearing is conducted pursuant to Board Policy 5602. The purpose of the hearing is to allow parents, students, and members of the public an opportunity to provide input to the school wellness policy as required under the Child Nutrition and WIC Reauthorization Act of 2004. Pursuant to Board Policy 5602, the Student Wellness Committee met 4 times during the 2021-22 school year. The topics discussed included review of district's COVID-19 responses, review of the district's food program, review of programming and support for student mental health needs, review of Policy 5602 for possible recommended changes, district breakfast programs, and wellness programming in the district. Looking ahead to the coming school year, the committee initially intends to continue to review district wellness initiatives, including mental health, and determine if other wellness activities for students ought to be considered by the district. And with that, thank you, Mr. President. I yield back for public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Steele. We do have public comment in regards to the wellness policy hearing. Again, just a quick reminder, 3 minutes maximum per individual, 30 minutes for all individuals, unless the board approves extending that allocated time. First up for the wellness policy hearing public comment is Ms. Brittany Holtmeyer. And name and address for the record for this hearing as well. Okay.
207 Ridgewood Drive, Brittany Holtmeyer. Regarding the COVID-19 responses, I just wanted to remind everybody, the ones who are watching as well who didn't catch last time. The district took $4.69 million for ESSER money, in which you didn't have to take. You took it and you didn't need to. In order to receive it, you had to comply with their guidelines. That is a sellout to all of these innocent children and the staff. Your COVID numbers had rose each of the following weeks that you hosted injection clinics that were held in the high school lunchroom. The numbers for COVID absence were anything from stomach aches, menstrual cramps, digestive issues, etc. We do have an email back and forth with Ms. Iman regarding the contact tracing cameras and how those didn't work as well, and we will post those to the Papillion-La Vista Facebook page as it's too long to read. I also wanted to remind you that the other surrounding schools who did not take ESSER money had no mask mandates. Their schools never closed. They had no social distancing, and they did not have to follow guidelines because they did not sell out to their staff and students. In emails that were obtained by a public records request, there were doctors who told you the dangers of the masks. There were parents exposing the harms that their children were receiving from wearing masks and the mental health decline that they were seeing in their children. And what did you do about it? You sent the emails around, and you had even mentioned about a concerned parent. Well, her tone really changed. I hope and pray you do not take ESSER money this upcoming year, although the words of Ms. Siri had me sad regarding the computers being sent home with every child this year, as it was exciting. To me, it seems a little convenient if we were to be closed the beginning of this school year, which I pray that is not true. Regarding the loss of learning, I am glad to see as of 6/20/2022 on the updated ESSER section that you are aware of the loss of learning COVID has caused, as well as the speech delays. I have quoted a speech pathologist in a speech I had given towards the end of the school year, as the presenter said that speech was not being affected. So once again, I just go back and I please ask that you reconsider the money you have taken, the money you might take, and please reevaluate and put paychecks aside because our students are our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment on the wellness policy hearing, I will adjourn the wellness policy hearing at 6:14 p.m. All right, moving into the regular Board of Education agenda for July 11th, 2022. Again, we can skip Section 1 call to order as we took care of that in the parental involvement hearing. We will move straight on to Section 2 communications with our favorite item A, recognition. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotus, members of the board, and for our community members that are with us as well as watching on YouTube Live. Welcome. As always, we love to have your engagement here. As Mr. Lotus just mentioned, one of the things that we really enjoy doing at each board meeting is providing staff or student recognition for students or staff members who have somehow distinguished themselves in a really positive way. And that certainly applies to this individual that we will be recognizing this evening. NSPRA, which is an organization that stands for the National School Public Relations Association. It's a national group that deals with school PR directors in particular, gives out annual awards, including these awards known as the Awards of Excellence for publications and digital media specifically. One of our own received not just one, but several of these awards. Our own Chantel Green, who's no stranger to this board and members of the community since she joins us at most of our board meetings in some capacity. Chantel's a communications specialist and was recently recognized by NSPRA for the quality of her work and her outstanding leadership. Chantel received 3 awards of excellence for videos submitted to the 2022 NSPRA Publication and Digital Media Awards. The NSPRA organization recognizes outstanding education publications, e-newsletters, digital media programs, radio, TV, video programs, social media, infographics, blogs, and websites. For those of you that have seen Chantel's internal and external video work, she's as good as there is. And for those of us that were able to attend our back-to-school event at Warner Park just last August, one of the videos that highlighted staff accomplishments, teacher accomplishments, district accomplishments I think we informally called it the Don't Blink video because it went through different scenes, different schools, different staff members in rapid succession. Was one of those videos that was highlighted for excellence. Chantel, we are incredibly proud to have you on staff. You have distinguished yourself in so many different ways. Please come on down and be recognized by your Board of Education. Well done, Chantel. Outstanding work. And with that, Mr. Lotus, I would conclude our recognitions for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Rickley. Moving on to item B under Section 2 Communication, public comment on items not on tonight's agenda. We do have a couple this evening. Again, as you're called up to the microphone, individual may not exceed 3 minutes for a total time of all individuals who want to speak shall not exceed 30 minutes unless a majority vote of the board to approve that extended allocated time. Again, when you get to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. Your time does not start until you begin your regular comments. First up for public comment for items not on tonight's agenda is Ms. Lowen Eby. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Lowen Eby. I reside at 1401 Edgewater Circle, Papillion, Nebraska, 68046. I would like to thank the board for making the final dispositions of the tort claims I filed against Dr. Wrigley on his oath of office bond. The oath, in part, is as follows. I blank do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of blank according to law and to the best of my ability. The oath ends with, so help me God. Policy 8002 states, the Board of Education facilitates the performance of its statutory responsibilities by establishing district policies. In August of 2021, this board relinquished its authority to the superintendent by a unanimous vote. Policy 8401 states, no policy or procedure of the board or administration may conflict with local, state, or federal law or court decisions. The first tort claim is about religious discrimination. I have yet to receive from the board an explanation as to why denying the religious affidavits is not discrimination. The second tort claim is about the excess hourly charges made by KSB school law that our district paid. I have yet to receive an explanation as to why our district paid the exorbitant hourly charges. Again, I want to thank the board for making final dispositions of my claim. I will be consulting with my attorney regarding what I should do next. In closing, I want to make it clear that I am not anti-mask. I am anti-discrimination. I am about protecting our constitutional rights. I am about following the rule of law, and I am about making sure those that manage our public funds are good stewards of our finances. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you. Next up for public comments on items not on tonight's agenda, Ms. Regina Fouch. Welcome.
Hello. Regina Fouch, 904 Berkeley Avenue, Papillion, Nebraska, 68046. I came here today to talk to you about the new social studies curriculum. I came up to flip through it, and immediately I knew that I was not going to be happy. At the first grade level, there were books suggested to read to the students about a little boy who didn't have a car and lived in poverty. After the teacher reads the book, which is aimed to raise questions about diversity, the students are to speak about their feelings. After each lesson, in every single grade level, in social studies, is SEL to be a part of that lesson. After spending 2 hours up here flipping through what I decided that I had seen enough, I went home and did more research. I found more out about the publishing company, the editors, and the people the individuals who made these books. They're pushing their agendas onto our youngest children. Some of the people had backgrounds and were credited by the NAACP. They have masters in education for slavery. I could go on and on and on. I did as much research on the individuals as possible and knew right away why I was upset about the new curriculum you're considering. I suggest you do some research on those individuals as well. I don't send my child to school to have a therapy session during every subject in school. While I feel that teachers like SEL and like helping students with their emotions is quite frankly not their job, but I do respect that they like the children enough to care to help them. Teachers are not professional child psychologists, yet they now are able to act as so at every single grade level and in every lesson. If my child is having social emotional issues, I'm not going to take her to a public school to have her teacher help her with those very deep feelings and emotions in front of her peers. You and I both know that these big emotions our children have and have to deal with belong in the hands of professionals like the guidance counselors at every building in a private setting, not in front of their peers. The school is not a mental health facility, and not one single parent expects it to be. SEL should not be in our schools, period. There should have been a survey sent out to the parents because it's my sincere belief parents send their kids to school to learn about reading, writing, math, science, and social studies, English, grammar, etc., etc. We elect the school board, and the school board should be asking for input from us, making SEL a very personal matter into their hands in front of their peers. Here is a recent lawsuit that was filed by parents where SEL was used inappropriately. In Franklin, Tennessee, the parents group sues school board over critical race theory. Parents Choice Tennessee, a parents advocacy group, filed suit today in Franklin, Tennessee, challenging the school board's adoption of a curriculum that the group says violates Tennessee laws prohibiting the teaching of critical race theory in Common Core. The curriculum was adopted through a process in violation of state law and over the objections of several parents.
Ms. Fauch, you've gone 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, her clock didn't work, but
Could you make an allowance
we
for
had-
me to finish?
I cannot. I apologize. I have to be consistent. Thank you. All right, seeing no further public comment on items not on tonight's agenda, we will conclude item B under Section 2 Communications. Moving on to item C, the Superintendent's Report. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotus, members of the board, members of the community. Again, thank you for being here this evening on a hot summer afternoon. Wanted to share a few things that we've been doing in the community and with the school district before another school year spools up here in just a few weeks. First and foremost, we had the opportunity to meet with Congressman Bacon just last week. We hosted the event here at our central office. Congressman Bacon is a resident of the school district and a former retired brigadier general in the U.S. Air Force, an incredibly strong supporter of our school district and our community, and just a good all-around human being, in my opinion. We spoke to a variety of issues, including we talked about school choice, we talked about school safety given the recent shooting in Texas, and a variety of other factors, including rising property values and property taxes. We had, I believe, 4 of our board members there. There were several other school districts that were represented also. So very proud to host that meeting and really appreciate our board showing up to represent the Papillion-La Vista Community Schools. Also wanted to share with the board, thanks to Dr. Myers and other strong leadership, it will not be long until we start hosting more events for the PLCS Community Closet. As our community is probably well aware, we have hosted the closet at Carriage Hill for the previous year, but because of a move with early childhood to get that early childhood classroom back in Carriage Hill, we're looking for a new location. We think we're really close, probably looking at a vacant storefront, but we'll let the board know once we know more. But we do have an event coming up on August 13th at La Vista Middle School for not only donations but distribution of items just in time for back to school for some of our most vulnerable families. We also wanted to thank Mr. Richardson and his team for continuing to make outstanding progress on our facilities updates. We know that Monarch is going to lag a little bit into the fall, but we're making some outstanding progress there. La Vista West is doing really well. Rumsey Station is doing really well. The team meeting room at Foundation Field is largely completed. So that 2018 bond issuance is fast approaching its endpoint in terms of facility completion. A few dates, some of these are on the board agenda, at least one or two of them are not. Back to school event for our staff who may be watching. We do an annual back to school event at Werner Park. It's one of those few opportunities where we get to have our entire staff, our entire family together. And when you count noses, there's about 2,000 of us, plus business partners. It's a great opportunity not only to kick off the school year on a positive note, but also to provide recognition to some of our very best employees through our PLCS Greatness Awards. And special thanks to the foundation who's here this evening for sponsoring those. First day of school fast approaching, August 11th. Doesn't seem right that we're already talking about the first day of school. And finally, on August 20th, our foundation will host its annual gala. We're changing it up a little bit this year. We're hosting it at the Beardmore Event Center, which, while it has a Bellevue address, is located in the Papillion La Vista Community Schools, which that's obviously very important to us. So lots of exciting stuff with school just around the corner. And with that, Mr. Lotus, I'd conclude my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Rickley. Open it up for any board comments or discussion this evening. You're making it too easy on me tonight. I guess to blame Mr. Madler and Mr. Bailey for not having any comments this evening. All right, well, that'll conclude item D under section 2 communications. Moving on to item E, our committee reports, building, grounds, and finance. Thank you, Dr. Tafoya. Human resources and student services.
We have a meeting on the 19th. No items tonight. Well, we do have an item, don't we? The contract? Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Witt. And finally, curriculum and Americanism. Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Moving right along. All right, that concludes section 2 communications. Moving on to section 3 action items. Item A is our action by consent.
I'll make a motion to approve the action by consent as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Fisher and a second by Dr. Tafoya. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. White.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, the minutes from the student fees hearing and our regular board meeting minutes of June 27th, 2022.
Move to approve the minutes from the student fees hearing and board meeting on June 27th.
Have a motion by Ms. Witt and a second by Ms. Fisher. Roll call, please.
Ms. White.
Yes.
Dr. Foya.
Yes.
Ms. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Lotus.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item C, ratify clerical negotiations 2022 through 2024. I'd like to welcome up Mr. Bell. Good evening.
Mr. Bell.
Doing well. Good to see you in a different capacity.
I know.
This evening.
It's a little different, but so happy to be here tonight to discuss the clerical negotiations, which was up for discussion the 27th. I happen to be a part of the negotiations, which was such a privilege and an honor to be a part of, something I hadn't been experienced before, and truly something that I really appreciated being a part of. As mentioned in the discussion, clerical staff is a position where we don't see necessarily a lot of turnover in that position. No changes were recommended during the discussion that took place on the 27th board meeting. So the recommendation would be that the board accepts the proposed negotiation agreement.
I move to ratify the negotiated agreement with the clerical staff represented by SEIU Local 226 for the 2022-23 and the 2023-24 contract years, thereby increasing current employees 4% in year one and 70 cents per hour in year two and 35 cents base wage increase each year, and approving other language changes as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Witt and a second by Ms. Fisher. Any further board comments, question, discussion regarding the clerical negotiations?
I would like to welcome Mr. Bell to the Administrative Services as the classified staff administrator. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for your work on this contract.
Thanks so much.
All right, seeing no further board comments related to this item and no public comments related to this item, roll call, please.
Dr. Chafoya.
Yes.
Ms. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. White.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our final item under Section 3 action items, item D, our 2018 bond alternate project bids. Mr. Richards.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lotus. Good evening, members of the board. We did go out for public bid on several projects that were approved to go out for bid from the board, and I wanted to bring those to you tonight. We feel comfortable with these bids, and they feel like they fit within the estimates that we had out there going into the bids prior to. So we'll start with the main gym bleachers. We only had one bid on this, and that was from Carroll Seating. They're a company out of Carroll, Iowa. They have some experience in the metro area, Bellevue West and Omaha Bryan being examples of doing their main gyms. It's over $100,000 under the estimate that we had for the project, which is excellent. It would be completed after the winter sports season in spring of 2023 due to some timing issues with the company as well as some lead times. And then once we start getting into volleyball and basketball, we just can't afford to take 2 weeks off of that gym. So working with the administration up at the high school, thought it might be best to do around spring break timing. The issues with the bleachers over there, there's some warping. I don't know if you've been up there to sit. I was over there at Honors Night earlier this year, and my seat was pretty warped good. But they have a lot of trouble pushing them in and out. They're really heavy, so they don't really fit, and they need about 6 people to pull them and push them back in. So they're the original bleachers that were installed back in 1996, so we think it's a good time to replace those. Looking at the next project at PLHS as well, 2 roof sections. So as you can see, and it might be a little bit difficult to see out there, but the number 1 and 5 are what we're talking about with this bid. So it's the main gym once again, and then it's the classroom 400 hallways is number 1 that we've had the most trouble with at PLHS. So that's what the maintenance and buildings and grounds personnel have recommended that we go with first on our improvement replacement cycle. 3 bids came in for this. Actually, we had 4. 1 was not qualified. The low bid was Kinbrook Roofing at $261,800. That'd be sections 1 and 5. The roofs are experiencing many leaks. Comes with a 20-year warranty for materials and labor on this particular roofing project. Next up would be the PLHS RTU, which means rooftop units. On PLHS, they're number 4 and 5 up on the top of the building there that are in the worst shape that we've had the most trouble with. And this is what the current one looks like on number 4. So you can see how big a unit that is and what, I mean, it does put out a lot of HVAC for a lot of that building that it's on top of. We did receive 3 bids. The low bid was for Iman Plumbing for $528,305.54. You can see the other bids there in your packet tonight, which were all pretty close. They are past life expectancy. The guys have done a good job of keeping them up and running. So they've deemed those that need to be replaced at this particular time. G. Stanley Roof. We have 3 bids there. Low bid from WeatherGuard. They're the ones that did our roof over at La Vista Middle after the storm. So that'll replace almost all. There's a little new section on G. Stanley Hall that has a newer roof on it because we added on. But everything else would be replaced. So we basically have a brand new roof at G. Stanley Hall throughout. Current roof is up to 31 years old in most of the places on the building. and we have substantial failures throughout the building. Remaining projects to bid, we're doing a little work. The playground resurfacing right now. We're researching some other surfaces to see if there might be a better alternative. It is a very expensive project. I will let the board know that up front, no matter whether we do turf, rubber, or mulch for that matter. The replacement of that is outrageous as well. So looking at some different items there with our Buildings and Grounds and Finance Committee, of that subcommittee of the board, to take a look at that as well. And then the irrigation systems are still being designed by Reha Engineering. So we should have those back here, I'm hoping by the end of this week, but if not next, then we can go out to bid on those as well for the 5 schools that we identified there. Just to give you an update, and I updated the Buildings and Grounds Finance Subcommittee of the board last Friday on the bond proceeds remaining. We still have $9 million more that we have to get out there from our bond company for proceeds. The district will have at that point $20,177,382 remaining for projects. The remaining projects that we have, a conservative estimate with contingencies is $15,830,000. If we add the additional projects tonight, that'll add on $1.502921 million. And then remaining projects to bid, we're estimating right now that irrigation system, as well as the playground resurfacing, is going to be about $1,475,000. And then some other projects still within the bond we need to be doing is the tech center HVAC system, which leaves us still with the contingency of about $840,000 left, even if after we do all those projects. So feeling really good with where we're at. Hopefully by the end of this thing next year at this time, we can add on a few more projects to kind of complete the whole thing that would have been waiting in the wings to see if we have the funding to do. Questions and discussion?
Thank you for all that information. You gave a little bit of a time frame on the replacement of the main gymnasium bleachers. Unless I missed it, what's the replacement schedule for the roofs on these projects, particularly as you were talking about how bad the one is at the one elementary?
Yeah, I think we're going to be, just about every project we have right now has lead time that's probably going to push us into the winter on a lot of the materials and equipment we need to do them. So we're trying to work with the contractors on doing those in the early spring so we can get them scheduled. So if we can get them under contract now, they can get it ordered, knowing that it's been approved by the board, and we can get those products in as soon as possible.
Is there any concern about, you said there's a lot of problems with the leaking in the roof at the one, so are there any concerns about us being able to have that project be pushed back that far?
No, we've been living with it for a while,
Okay.
and they'll do patchwork in the meantime until we can get to the big project of replacement.
Okay, and then I had one question about the gymnasium bleachers. With only one bid, do we feel fairly confident that that is a reasonable expectation for that particular project?
The architects help us with those estimates, and they're a part of some of those projects that are out there statewide, even throughout the Midwest that they represent. So BCDM's a big architectural firm, and they felt that number was in a really good range for what they've seen with some projects they've been associated with. So that's why we kind of felt bringing it forward to you guys would be okay in this situation.
I'm not surprised necessarily by the price. And I also, when you think about the age of those bleachers and how many times we pull them out and we push them in and we pull them out and we push them in, there's bound to be, you hit that time where they need to be replaced. So I would agree with the project. I just was curious about the.
And I would say, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because that includes the demolition of the old one, which is about $45,000 of that money. So that's a big haul too, to get all those old bleachers out of there. Thank you.
Well, I think you mentioned it earlier, I think in your comments, but can you give a little bit more insight as to, why some of these projects weren't included in, the original renovations, say the AC units with Monarch being renovated already this year versus as well as G. Stanley, in the prior years?
Sure. I think, and Mr. Lewis does an excellent job in the BCDM of kind of estimating and being real conservative so they don't overspend. And you never want to be in position, and especially during these COVID years where you're taking on more projects and then all of a sudden at the end you're falling short of funding to do what you said you were going to do within the bond. So holding back some of these projects, whether you end up not having the money in the bond and then maybe coming back and trying to do it later with a special building fund is kind of the thought there. And, I know I've seen districts that get in trouble where they overspend early and, do a bunch of change orders or take on too many projects, and all of a sudden they can't finish the project. And I think that's the rationale for why we're at where we're at.
No, thank you for that insight. I think it's helpful. I think all of these projects, I mean, the assets that we're utilizing to house our students and our staff are well beyond their useful life. And you can pick and choose whether you want to do continued maintenance on a lot of these facilities, but in the long run, it gets to the point where that is more expensive than actually going out and spending the money getting new units in, more efficient units, as well as, again, they're depreciable assets. So, I mean, we're taking the hit paying for them, but, these are going to last us a long, long time, as these bleachers have been there. I watched them get installed.
26 years ago.
In 96. So I'm not aging myself at all, but they're way past due. And if you've seen them lately, it's not only just how they work and operate and the amount of staff we need, but they're also, you got to look at safety for our fans and our students and families as well. So it's definitely.
Yep, good point.
Surprised it's 26 years ago that it's been that long. Can't believe how fast years go by. Those bleachers, they definitely need to be replaced. I was there at a number of basketball games this year and thought, oh my Lord, this is not a good presentation. Yeah. We definitely need to replace them.
What's even worse is that G. Stanley Hall roof hasn't been fully repaired or changed since I went there. Yeah. I mean, that's a long time especially to get out of a roof. We definitely got our money's worth out of that.
My biggest issue with this project is liability. How long is it going to be before they start breaking and people falling through the? It's a consideration. We lived through the one down behind junior high, the football field. We had, every time we turned around, we had lawsuits because of the condition of that stadium. And of course now we have a much nicer one that we're not having those issues any longer. Are you going to make a motion? Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the bids for the replacement of G. Stanley Hall roof and Papillion La Vista High School roof sections, the HVAC units, and main gymnasium bleachers as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Tafoya and a second by Ms. Fisher. Any other board comments, questions, discussion regarding the alternate bond projects? All right, seeing none, and seeing no public comment for this agenda item, roll call, please.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. White.
Yes.
Dr. Foyer.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And Mr. Richards, I do respect the fact that you called it the main gym. Those of us that have been around a while still call it the new gym. That's obviously not new, but I still can't. Anytime I talk about it, it's the new gym. All right. Well, that concludes Section 3 action items. Moving on to Section 4 discussion and information items for this evening. Item A is our Papillion La Vista Schools Foundation yearly report. I will invite up Mr. Danker.
Welcome, Lee. Welcome, Terry. Thank you. It's good to be here. All right, we are up on the big screen. Are we on?
There you go.
All right, I think we're set. Well, good evening, members of the board, Dr. Rickley, and everyone who is listening and here in the audience. My name is Lee Danker, and this is Terry Dodds, and we both work for the Papillion La Vista Community Schools Foundation and are thrilled to do so. And we're happy to be here tonight to give you a brief update of some of the work that has been going on this past year on behalf of the students of Papillion La Vista Community Schools by the foundation. First, we think it's important to remind everyone that we are an organization that has been around for some time. The foundation was established in 1986, which is a while. We are a charitable 501c3 organization that is not part of the school district, and we are governed by a board of directors that oversees the operations of the foundation and manages the staff accordingly. Although Terry and I are here presenting tonight, I do want to point out that a number of our board members are here with us tonight. The president of our foundation is here, Carla Rupiper, our treasurer, Alan Harry, and Lynn Johnson, who's also a member of the board. So we want to thank them for being here as well. The mission and vision of our foundation are, I think they're pretty clear. Clearly, our mission is to enhance educational opportunities for the students that would not otherwise be possible. And our vision, I think we all share in this vision, frankly, is a future where the circumstances of the students and families of our district are improved. And everything that we do falls right in line with those two statements right there. If you're familiar with the foundation, you know one of the largest programs, in fact, the largest program that we manage is our Kids Club program, and that exists at all of our elementary schools, and that was the program that actually started the foundation back in 1986. We're very fortunate here in our district to have a Kids Club that runs extremely well and serves a big number of our families with much needed care. And it runs well because we have a great director. And our director is Terry Dodds. And Terry is going to take it from here and give you a little update on Kids Club. So, Terry.
Thank you, Lee.
Yep.
We are having a very busy summer. We have 725 kids that we are taking care of. So that's the most I have seen since I started with the foundation. And they are busy. They are traveling twice a week, swimming and doing all kinds of other fun things. So we're keeping those kids busy at almost every school. We have a program. We are now up to 1,025 enrolled already for the school year. I anticipate we'll probably have another 200 to 300 more enrolled, which is also growing. It could be more than that because it's been surprising me lately. So, but our district is growing, so that makes sense. Ashbury is actually one that was small, is now, I noticed, had almost 70 kids already enrolled. So very busy already. Does anybody have any questions? We're doing really well. Everybody's doing great.
No, I would just like to tell you personally, thank you, and to all your staff. My two boys are attending at Ashbury, and they're having a blast, and had at Patriot as well when they were in that kids club. I don't know how you guys do it. The amount of work, effort, planning that it goes into it, to arrange the buses, to get these kids to not just be sitting in a gym on electronics, all day, every day, which is one of the reasons that, we wanted our boys out of the house, is so that they do have a chance to do field trips and do other, educational activities than just hide in their room and play on the video games and watch YouTube. So again, big thanks to all your staff. It's been a quick month or so of the summer, but lot of activities, and to all the partners, business partners out there that work with Kids Club from all over kind of the area, including spots in Lincoln. Thank you for your support and allowing these groups back into your facilities to get them something fun to do. So thank you very much.
That's all I have.
I do think it's important, and thank you, Terry. She really does a great job for us, and has for how many years?
7 now.
Yeah, so
8.
it's been running well for quite some time. The 130 plus employed this summer, that's a number that really does need to be pointed out, because just like everyone around our community and our nation, employing people is difficult these days, and getting employees is difficult these days. The nice part about this is the number of our employees are students within the district. We see a lot of kids from our high schools who use this as a summer job and a before and after school job during the school year. So we're happy to not only provide care for our youngest kids in the district, but also provide an employment opportunity for some of our older students in the district. So again, Terry, thank you very much. So one of the other stakeholders that we serve is alumni. This district has 2 high schools, and we have alumni of both. Some folks might be surprised, but we have over 28,000 alumni of both high schools. The classes that we have information for started back in 1930. Now, keep in mind, our district goes back further than that. We just don't have records prior to 1930. So that's a pretty good number. We do support all of our classes when they need some help with class reunions. We will work with them on their lists. And we're excited this year to help our schools by launching alumni annual fund programs for both high schools, which will give alumni an opportunity to support their high school through an annual giving program. We engage our community in a number of different events. We just recently had our golf tournament on June 14th, and that was out at Tiburon. We also had some folks over to Papillion Days. Our office is across the street where we were able to enjoy the fireworks once again this year. And as always, and Dr. Rickley mentioned this, we're excited to host our gala again in 2022. This year's theme is Back to School Soiree, because it's in conjunction with Return to School this year. So we're excited to have that and recognize our Hall of Famers once again this year. We hope that members of our community will choose to join us. So how do we support our students? Early on, we mentioned that we do support students, and we want to make sure lives are improved for our students. Some of the programs that are staples of the foundation, because the school district asks for help in making these happen, a lot of our 6th graders just simply would not be able to talk about school if they didn't talk about their memories from outdoor education. The foundation pays for that for every 6th grader across the district, and we're pleased to do so. We also fund an elementary arts program, the Greatness Awards, the Graduate Safe and Post-Prom events at both of our high schools, the Media Academy, our summer library program, middle school tutoring, and Pioneer Days are some of those ongoing programs that we're very, very pleased to support because we know that they impact students at the lowest levels all the way up to the highest levels, and they definitely make a difference. I wanted to pull out 2 very significant programs that we support. One of them is teacher grants, and the other is student scholarships. Teacher grants is funded by the foundation. Again, we put together 2 application cycles every year, one in the spring and one in the fall. Teachers from around the district can apply, and the applications are judged by a volunteer committee. This year we had a significant increase in applications in spring of 2022, and 36 applications were selected already. So we're really pleased with that, and I'm also pleased to say that the chosen grants impact students at every single grade level. So you're going to see some, I guess, innovative work because of these grants at every school. Second is student scholarships. These are also chosen by a volunteer committee, and these are made available to seniors from both Papio and Papio South. This year, 73 scholarships were awarded through the foundation. There are students, as I mentioned, from both high schools, and you're going to see these students attend many, many different colleges within the state of Nebraska and beyond. Some areas that we're really pleased with this year, certainly I had to start with our staff. Anytime you live through a situation that we have just lived through over the past year and 2 or so, you have to be really thankful for the group that you have. And we are at the foundation, not only with our kids club team, but also with the foundation office staff. So I would say that as a point of pride, and some of you know that we've gone through some restructuring a bit of some of our staff within the office, and that is complete, and we're pleased with that. Our engagement events that we just talked about are back and are going very, very well. We're seeing some increased involvement by members of the community, and we hope that will continue again this year and into the next. Many of you attended our skilled and technical trades open house that the district put on last April. We were pleased to be a part of that and help the community support that program through some financial giving. We also launched 2 very successful campaigns this past year. The first one was the end of the school year campaign, which we called Thank a Teacher campaign, and also the PLCS staff giving campaign. Both were very successful. And although I mentioned it before, the tradition of student support did continue this year, despite some of the challenges that were available to us, and I'll show you the numbers here in the next slide. You can see back to the years 2015 that are on this chart here. There was some significant growth. Every year, the foundation tries to do more. because costs go up here at the district. And if we're going to make a difference in the lives of students, we need to increase as well. That took a bit of a dip in the COVID year of 2020, but you'll see that it rebounded again in 2021. So if you add those two, 20 and 21 together, we made up for the losses in 2020 in the year 2021. And we're just thrilled to be able to do that. And we hope that the foundation will continue with the help of the community to increase its support in the years to come. Speaking of years to come, moving forward, some things that we're going to be putting our attention toward. Obviously, we want to continue to maintain a very high-quality Kids Club program. Our families need it, our district needs it, and it's our obligation to offer that. Our 2021 financial review is in progress. We hire an external accounting firm to handle our review and the filing of our Form 990s every year. Third, we want to continue to grow our Give with Gratitude PLCS staff giving program. This is a fun one, the fourth one here, and I hope if anybody's paying attention, you'll hear the request within the parentheses there. We are establishing an alumni room at the foundation office, and memorabilia donations are welcome. If you have some things that you accumulated during your time at South or at Papio, yearbooks, whatever they may be, sweaters, we have a basketball jersey from the early 1900s. They probably played in a gym here on this block at some point, but we've got some band Shakos from the 80s that some of us wore. There's just some fun things there. We'd like to get more. So the community is welcome to donate those to the foundation, and we will put them on display. And then finally, we are in the process of evaluating future fundraising priorities. We hope we can get some launched within 2023, again, because we know the needs are there, and we as a foundation need to be there for the district. With that, I will close my report. Any questions?
I have no questions, but I was on the foundation board from 2019 through 21 and served on the teacher grant committee, and it is wonderful to see the different variety of grants that the teachers look for help with to help with their classroom and their learning experience. You also provide like gas cards and things to the public who might be in need. I think that's worth mentioning as well. And I know that the last meeting, a member of the public made a comment about the foundation being at risk for their Form 990. Can you tell us what happened? Since it was a public comment, I think anyone who might be listening should hear what's the status.
You bet. Absolutely. I think there was an accusation or some comment that the foundation was at the risk of losing its 501c3 status because it hadn't complied with IRS regulations to submit its Form 990 every year and hadn't for 3 years in a row. And that is not true. The foundation is up to date with its Form 990s. Our 2020 Form 990 was submitted in 2021, as they always are, a year in arrears. And we are in the process of working with our external accounting firm to prepare the 2021 990 at this point, and it will be completed and submitted to the IRS by the end of this year.
Thank you. I used to be a treasurer for an organization and had to do those forms, so thanks.
You're welcome.
I want to thank you and Terry for the good work you do on behalf of the district, our community, and students. I think there's 2 or 3 programs in particular you touched on just a little bit, are probably near and dear to my heart. One, Student Emergency Fund, which does provide direct support to families where life happens. They get behind on rent, gas, they need help. It could be a dissolution of a marriage, it could be 100 different things, and the foundation provides that help to provide that hand up that so many of our families need, particularly during times like this. The Staff Emergency Fund as well, through the PLCS Family Fund. Some members of the community have heard me mention it before, provides direct financial support through privately donated dollars to our staff where life happens. The stories that we read every week are heartbreaking from staff members. It could be a driver, it could be a food service worker, it could be a teacher, it could be an administrator. People that through no fault of their own have run into really challenging situations. And last but certainly by no means least, a program that's near and dear to my heart is, of course, the Community Closet. And that program wouldn't have started without some seed money from you and the foundation, specifically targeted to provide some washers and dryers to launder those clothes that are donated. And the volume of clothes that have been donated by our community is nothing short of staggering. And without a means to wash and launder and get those ready for our showroom, we don't have a program. So we are providing help to some of the most fragile and vulnerable individuals in this community, and for that I'm deeply grateful. So thank you.
I've had the pleasure over the many years, either as a board member or when I was not on the board, to be on the foundation board. And I found it to be a true pleasure because the work that the foundation does is all so positive and all dedicated towards helping students and families. And there's nothing more rewarding than that. So I always found my board service to be some of the most rewarding time that I spent. So I'm so glad to see the foundation continuing to grow and continuing to offer some of the same opportunities, but offer more opportunities as time goes on. So thank you for the work that everybody on the foundation does, and to the board of directors who take time out of their lives to serve, because this is such a important foundation, and it takes people's time and energy to be willing to serve on a board of directors like that. So I'm very appreciative of people willing to take time out of their lives to dedicate to these kinds of foundations. So thank you very much for that.
Including those in the audience. Thank you.
I had the pleasure of watching the inception of the foundation. Roger Miller and can't think of his name right now. He's a deacon in the Catholic Church, but there was a vision that they had, and they put it together, and that was in '86, and I had the pleasure of being on the foundation board from, I think, '87 till 4 years ago when I acquired this job here, and so I had to give it up. But there has been so much progress and so much positive things that they have done for the community. It's just amazing. You know, it's amazing how a little dream becomes so energized and so productive for our community and our school. The fact that we're helping students with scholarships, we're helping people that are in need, whether it's clothes or funds, or there are just so many projects that you're involved with. Grants for the teachers. That is fantastic. So keep up the good work. I'm just proud that I was part of it, a little bit part of it.
A little bit. Thank you, Dr. Tafoya, for helping to start this foundation. That's terrific. Thank you.
Any other board comments, questions, discussions? I just want to say thank you to both of you, and a little plug, again, as Terry said, that kids clubs are filling up, so there are limited spots. There are some schools that do max out, so parents don't procrastinate. It is a great program. Like I said, my two boys go and thoroughly enjoy it. And again, if the community go out to the foundation website, learn more about the gala. It's coming up fast, so look forward to seeing everybody there. Thank you both for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Terry.
All right, that concludes item A under section 4, discussion and information items. Moving on to item B, policy 6000 instruction series. Ms. Siri.
All right, good evening, Board of Education. As you recall from last month, the 6000 series, the board policies are up for their annual review. And these policies center around instruction. And you'll notice that in your board packet tonight, I am here to present to you to propose two possible changes on policy. The first one is 6208. This particular policy is based on State Statute 79-724, and it is the observances of ceremonies, observances, and the Pledge of Allegiance. And really, the change is just two corrections. The first one is we needed to add junior behind Martin Luther King. It was an error that it was left off. And then the second one is down in the second paragraph, you'll notice that student needs to be plural. It should say students. But it is changed to the policy language. So that's one policy. The second policy is 6305, and it is also enclosed in your board packet. This one focuses on students with disability who qualify for Section 504. And really, this is updating the language. The federal government requires that we have a 504 process to ensure that students are not discriminated against based on a disability. What we're doing is cleaning up the language a little bit. Really, it's removing the word plan in certain situations, and then really designating when a plan is written. And basically, the reason that is happening is because a student can have a 504 in order to receive that protection, but not have a specific plan. However, they could. So we're taking it out and making the 504 more general, but if they have a plan, it needs to designate that the plan needs to be followed in guidance with the 504. So really, it's an update to language. And those are the two recommended changes that I proposed to the board at this time. Questions?
Nope. Again, board members, if you, as you read through the policy 6000 series, if you see any other recommended changes or potential just typo fixes, please reach out to Ms. Siri with those recommendations or changes. Thank you, Ms. Siri. All right, that concludes item B under section 4, discussion and information items. Moving on to our final item, item C, is the policy 7000 series over construction. Mr. Richards.
All right, great, thank you. In looking at the policy 7000 series, I think the series is sound, it's up to date. We would recommend adding one policy to the board policy manual in 7000s. The current process the district uses right now is a design bid build process, which is good for a lot of things, and there's a lot of good to it. So what that means is the architects and district design and the scope of the project, and then they go out for bid. Okay, and it's hard bid with companies at a certain time and date, and then that company works with the architects and district to build. Okay. This particular policy, which the state now allows, is a construction manager at risk contract. Adding policy 4172 would allow us for an option in the future. I just want to say that it's something that the board would choose to do if they felt strongly enough about it.
Should that be 7142?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it is. Good catch. 7142 would allow for the option in the future to use the construction manager at risk contract if the board chooses. So it would just, if board adopts this policy, it's available in the future to use this pathway. And I think, as I go through this today, I'm just going to give you some touches of what the CMR contract is. And then if you ever wanted or interested in using that in the future on some major projects, we could have the architects or company come in and explain it a little bit more thoroughly and research it a little bit more diligently. So the contract is hired through an RFP process. So the district puts out a request for a proposal for the contractor for a project, and it's selected based on the multiple categories listed in the policy that you have in front of you in your packet. So there's a lot of criteria that the state outlines that has to be considered when you select a contractor. Once a contractor selected, becomes partner in the design project. So you get the contractor up front with the architects to design, which can cut down on some change orders. It can dissuade the district and architects from doing certain things if it's going to be too costly, those types of things. So a contractor can be a partner up front. Once designed, the contractor goes out for bid. So they'll go out and look for subcontractors at least 3 in each area for the project, such as plumbing, you get 3 plumbers, electrical, you get 3 electrical for the project, and roofing and so on. So you're still getting the bid process involved in this. The contractor then gives a district guaranteed maximum price for the project, and then the board would approve it once all that work has been done, is the way the process works. Kind of the pros and cons. The pros, you find the best qualified contractor to work as a partner. There are some contractors out there that get some projects once in a while that maybe can't do the job, and that's concerning. More concerning is the quality of work sometimes because they want the job. They'll hire subcontractors that aren't able to really follow through, and they give them the cheapest price. Okay, so when they're doing bids to get into the hard bid in the district, they may have subcontractors out there that gives them prices so they can get the bid. Okay. The timeline is more accurate usually to complete a project because the contractor is involved in the design decisions too. and they can kind of give the architect a little better idea of how long it's going to take. I've been through some of this in the past. The less blame game, in these design bid builds, there's a lot of blame. Well, they blame the architects for why something happened, or the architects blame the contractor. And when you kind of work together in the relationship early on before you design together, there's really nowhere to go but to work together as a team. So the teamwork increases. The cons, it can be a little bit more expensive because you're using the more qualified subcontractors through this process. So if you have a highly regarded contractor out there, they have a lot of the subs that they use throughout their projects because they know they do good work. So they'll handpick maybe their 3 subs that they want to work with and take the best price from there. So that's a con a little bit, but it's also could be considered positive as well. So just kind of want to throw this policy to the board for consideration to add to the board policies again. Don't have to ever use it if you don't feel like it's needed. But it does give it, you can't use it if it's not a policy in the future.
One of the things you mentioned that really caught my attention there is the timeline of projects. That has been an issue for us on several really, truly key projects in this district. And if there's an opportunity where we have a project that we truly believe is time sensitive and we really need to know what that's project, I'll use opening Liberty Middle School without all the flooring done, and some of the other things that have happened. Do you feel that having the availability of this as a potential option could help us with some of those key or larger or more intense projects to help have a better timeline to ensure that they're completed? We all know that there's emergency things that could happen to products, we had one before where steel wasn't available or brick masonry wasn't available. But setting that aside, does this offer us some better protection or better chance of us not running into those kinds of situations again in the future?
I believe so. I mean, I've seen it on the other end where, just like you have with Liberty and Ashbury for that matter, and Monarch. This last fall. Those were late. And, I've been through the CMR at risk contract as well and seen it work. They're on schedule through COVID right now, as a matter of fact, the project that I worked on. And a lot of it is, the integrity of the company that you select. You're really doing the reference work in the selection of that contractor. And the contractor has a history of bringing things in on time through terrible things. I remember one contractor we selected brought a job through right in the middle of the floods that we had a couple years ago. There was no way that should have happened in that particular district, that school should have been done. But that's what we found out through the process of kind of evaluating the contractors in the RFP. So I believe it has a big, not to say it can't happen, but you really lower the risk of it happening.
Ms. Fisher, I appreciate that question. We have spoken to other school districts in the area that have used this CMR methodology. As Mr. Richards stated, it's not a guarantee that they bring in the project on time, but it does increase the odds. The other option that we've talked about is it's a school district. You could use this with design build or CMR, and that is using a liquidated damages clause, whereby we say you either hit this deadline or you start paying us X amount per day, which provides a financial incentive for them to start throwing labor and resources at projects to make sure they hit that deadline. Otherwise, it's going to hit them in the pocketbook. So it's absolutely a relevant question. It's certainly something that we'll prioritize.
Any other board comments, questions? No, I appreciate you bringing this option to us to evaluate and determine whether it's a good fit for this district. And again, like you said, it's just an option, but it has to be in policy if we're able to have it as an option. So,
Yep. And I think if we ever wanted to go that direction, bringing it back and having a more thorough discussion about it and the pros and cons from more experts from the outside in the industry to come talk to the board would be appropriate.
sounds good. Again, as you review the 7000 series for any other recommended changes or word fixes, typos, please direct those to Mr. Richards. Thank you, Mr. Richards. All right, well, that concludes Section 4, discussion and information items for this evening. Moving on to Section 5, our future board calendar. Short, as it's the summer, July 25th, 2022, the next Board of Education meeting at 6 p.m. here at the central office. Seeing no further business before this Board of Education, I'll adjourn the Papillion-La Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting for July 11th, 2022 at 7:17 p.m. Thank you all.